So last class we were talking about levels of personal and social responsibility. And for me, it's mostly about being a good person. And the idea is to bring that personal and social responsibility to all aspects of your life. And yogis often describe that as yoga off the mat. Like, how are you incorporating your practice into your daily life? For people who are Jewish, this is the time of the High Holy Days, the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And Rosh Hashanah is the New Year, so and Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, and the what happens between is you cleanse, you let go, you try to ask for forgiveness and seek forgiveness of others. And they're also called the days of awe, where I think you bring gratitude into your life um, more consciously than maybe you have before. They're also called the days of reconciliation, and it's about your relationship with God, with others, and with yourself. And if you don't have a relationship with God, think of God as love.
Who is that?
Lo- Love or God?
God.
Well, I'm saying if you don't know who God is and you don't have a relationship with God, just think of God as love, because I think that's something that most of us can get behind. This idea of uh, you're loving others and hopefully loving yourself. You're not alone in not necessarily knowing who or what God is or having a relationship with that entity, but God as love works for me. So we're gonna start, and there's a couple of things to think about as we go. One is I'd like you, well, we're gonna start in what they call a supported shavasana, so supported corpse pose, and you definitely want something underneath your knees, and it's up to you how much height you want. You could put a foam roller under here, maybe with a blanket on top. I just folded up my mat, or I could take my blanket and roll it up. I'm just going to do this. And then you might want something uh, for your head. And I'm going to ask us to, instead of the choose your own corpse pose, to try to do the traditional corpse pose, lying on your back with your palms up. And actually, what's one of the things I want us to try to do, like this pillow is too tall for me for behind my head. So I'm either going to use my towel or a blanket. Ooh, there's a spider. Okay, that might be good. Okay. So before you get too comfy, I want you to think about making adjustments. You're welcome to make adjustments, but instead of just going, reaching up that way and just kind of straining my whole front side of my body as I do a sit up to do an adjustment, I want us to try rolling onto our sides, and we'll stay on our sides for a few breaths, and then pushing with your arm and your hand up to sitting. And also part of that is I'm as I'm pushing up, I'm looking down, so I'm not leading with my neck, because you don't want to just you're going to relax all this stuff, and you don't want to just necessarily stress it right away. So the two things I'm going to ask you to do is try to lie with your palms up. And then when we transition between poses and come back to sitting, that you roll onto your side and then push yourself up while you're looking down. So hopefully everybody's got a good, um, perfectly adjusted corpse pose. I'm going to try to roll my shoulder blades down my back. I'll lie with my hands up, getting some of this stuff out of the way. And if you have lights on overhead, you might want to turn them off. And the good thing about this practice, this restorative practice, is it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. Basically, it's described as an antidote to stress. Your nervous system has the automatic responses, the autonomic nervous system, and those are divided into fight or flight response, the stress response, where your adrenaline and cortisol get pumped through your body and your heart rate goes and you get hot. And, obviously that's triggered when you're scared or angry, but many of us live in a state of, in the stress response, the fight or flight response, because of worry or stress or anxiety, just making our bodies have that response all the time. The parasympathetic response is called the rest response, the rest and digest response. So doing this type of practice will stimulate the rest response. So it's like fake it till you make it. So one of the things we've been talking about is breath, and having long, deep breaths will stimulate that rest response, and doing a supported nurturing practice like this restorative practice that we're going to do today we're doing today, is another way to help your body be in that rest response as opposed to the stress response. So notice your breathing. And notice what thoughts come into your head and just sort of acknowledge them. That's me thinking. Or sometimes labeling it past or future helps to acknowledge the thought and create a little distance from it. And then let's take what's called a centering breath, where you fill up your belly, fill up your lungs, and then exhale out your mouth, or not out your mouth. Sometimes if you make an audible exhale, it's helpful. I'm gonna let somebody in. Connor. Do another centering breath if you feel like it. Big inhale. And then when you're ready, roll onto your side. And for the most part, that means bend your knees and roll over, mostly off of your cushions and props. And then push with your bottom arm and your top hand, letting your head come up last, back up to sitting. Wonderful. Everybody. And our next pose, I'm getting my clock so I can make sure I know what time it is. Our next pose is reclining butterfly, but supported. So for your back, your butt stays on the ground. For your back, you create a ramp. So something low, and it could be a pillow or a blanket uh, rolled as my bottom layer or folded. Like this could be a bottom layer. And then I'm going to do staggered over something in the middle and then a pillow for my top. And I'm going to try that out. Of course, I just led with my neck like I'm not supposed to. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Okay, and then for your legs, butterfly. Everybody wants to have something underneath their knees. So if you don't have anything left to shove underneath your knees, you don't have any more cushions left, or you don't have blocks, or you're just out of stuff, then just leave your knees bent like we like to do. But if you do have two things that you can stick underneath your knees, go ahead and do that. Settle in again. Try to have your palms up to have that external rotation of your shoulders. And it's more of an opening than a stretch. And in these high holy days, people seek reconciliation with someone they've wronged in the past year. So I'd like you to think of someone with whom you have a challenging relationship right now. Not too bad, but somebody who gives you a little bit of difficulty. And we're going to try to send compassion to that person or people, if there's more than one. And a way to do that in a supportive and restorative way is to breathe in for you and out for them. So, in your inhale, bathe yourself with compassion. And on your exhale, maybe send some compassion to someone who challenges you. And the nice thing about this is Every exhale does not have to go to that person. For example, you can breathe in for you and out for you 10 times, and then every once in a while, just throw an exhale out to that other person. It doesn't have to be the perfect person, just somebody who comes to mind. Or, or shift it around if that feels right to you. Or just give yourself compassion for every inhale and every exhale. In for you, out for them. Take a big inhale and fill your belly and lungs. And let it go when you want to. Centering breath. And just go back to natural breathing. And when you're ready, if your knees aren't already vertical, close your butterfly and bring your knees up and fall off your tower to one side. Maybe pillow your head with your arm. We'll be here for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, go ahead and push yourself back up to sitting. Okay. Our next one is called Mountain Brook. And you're going to have three main points of contact with the ground and three main places of support. So we're back to something under your knees, something under your mid back, and something under your neck. slash head, depending on what you want. If again, you don't want something too tall behind your head, a towel might be good, or a blanket that is pretty adjustable. And you don't want something too tall um, behind your back either. So I'm going to try this blanket and see. And then so my points of contact are my feet, my butt, and my shoulders. And it's not lower back. You don't want your blanket to be real close in. You kind of want it to be right below your shoulder blades. I'm going to try this. Oh, that might even be too much. No, that's not enough. Uh, and here I am leading with my head. Well, you guys get yourself adjusted, or maybe you've already settled into something nice. Okay. And then I'm saying behind under your neck, so your head may be on the ground, or it might be on part of your blanket, but your blanket you can adjust. You can make it little levels and pull it in around your head if you want to. But I think that neck support's nice. And then I have my arms out with palms up again. So the high holy days are often called the days of awe. So think about things that inspire you or that generates awe in you. Could be a landscape, could be a person or a pet, could be something little, like some of the things you've noticed on your walks. But what do you find awesome to be awesome? And as we think about something that gives you awe, it often naturally generates into gratitude for that thing or person or place, that entity. So let's try that breath again, but now focusing on something that you find awesome. So in for you and out for that entity. So bathe yourself in gratitude and then send gratitude out. You're welcome to adjust your ratio if you need the breaths to be both inhales and exhales for you. Please take the opportunity to bathe yourself in compassion. In for you and out for that thing or entity or person or pet. Again, let's try a centering breath, which is just a big inhale and exhale. When you're ready, put your feet on the ground and roll over to one side, mostly off of your props, if that makes sense. And then when you're ready, push yourself back up to sitting. And our next pose actually doesn't require a lot of cushions. We're going to try legs up the wall, but you put something underneath your butt or underneath your hips. I'm going to use that cushion. It's a little firmer. You can use whatever you want. You can fold up a blanket. You can use your yoga mat folded up or rolled up. You could use a block or a pillow. Um, if you don't have a free wall space, a closed door often works as enough space for you to be able to get there. And for me, it works best if I sit next to the wall and then lean away from it. And as I'm leaning away and back, I start to twist my body up towards the wall. And then I'll grab my prop and stick it under my hips. And again, I'm going to try to have my palms up. And if you want to have something underneath your head, if you think that would be comfortable for you, then just grab something for underneath your head. And I don't think I want it. The one thing you want to make sure is that you're not hyperextending your knees. So if you need to bend your knees a little bit or even scoot back a little bit to be more in astronaut position, then please do so. But it should be just no exertion. And notice what it feels like to have your legs up the wall and have that blood that normally is pooling in your legs be pushed back the other direction. You might even feel a lightness or tingling in your legs. And you might feel a heaviness in your chest or your head. Bella, if this doesn't work for you, don't do it. And while we're here, we're going to try something that's called self-soothing, where in the COVID world, so many of us are not having the social interaction that humans, or actually all mammals, need. And people need human touch and human contact. And it's exactly the right temperature. It's usually, like so if a gentle, warm touch is really restorative. And the nice thing is you can do it yourself. So let's try putting your hands over your chest or your heart center area. And from your chest, notice the weight and the temperature of your hands. And from your hands, notice the movement in your chest. If you want to make it so your arms are on the ground too. And then try both hands on your belly. For some people, this is a very safe feeling. And for some people, this can be very triggering. So just notice what arises. And then try giving yourself a hug. Grab both your shoulders or both your upper arms. Again, notice the warmth of your hands on your arms. Maybe move your arms a little bit, your hands. Give yourself a big squeeze and then try one or both hands on your cheeks. And try a hand on your own forehead. And then go back to the one that you liked the most. And try a centering breath from wherever you are. So big inhale and exhale. And then maybe release wherever you are and go back to palms up the wall. Or sorry, palms up, arms at your side. And then we're going to come out of it, and it might help to push your feet on against the wall to lift your hips up and pull out whatever's underneath you, or just roll over onto your side, however you need to get there. And we'll be here for a little bit before we push up. And then go ahead and push yourself back up to sitting. We've got two more poses basically. And the next one is a reclining twist. And basically, I'm going to sit next to my butt's on the ground. I'm going to sit next to a pillow or a tower. If you're less flexible, you're going to want a taller structure here. If you're more flexible, you don't need quite as much. You might want to hold something back for under your head or not. But basically, you sit next to your tower. I'm going to put my hands on both sides of my tower. My tower is brought right in next to my hip. And I'm going to flop down onto my tower. And you can put your head go in the same direction as your knees, or you can turn your head over. You might try both and see which is more comfortable for you. If you want something underneath your head, you can either push it up or, gosh, my headset doesn't like this. You can stack your knees or have them staggered, or even have something in between your knees. See if you can relax your torso into your structure. We're not going to hold this one for very long, so take a centering breath. And then when you're ready, put your hands on the ground and push yourself back up to vertical. And then you want to switch sides, right? So I'm gonna flip my knees over to the other side, scoot next to my pile, put my hands on both sides of my pile, and then flop my belly slash chest onto my pile. And I might try both head positions. I might try a little pillow for my head. I might try stacking my knees or staggering them. Go ahead and take a centering breath again. Deep inhale and exhale. And then when you're ready, put both hands on the ground and push yourself back up for our final Shavasana. And again, we want to have it be a restorative one. So maybe it's not the one that you normally do, but let's do the same one that we did at the beginning, which is something underneath your head and something, maybe something underneath your head and definitely something underneath your knees. Try that. And again, I'm going to ask you to kind of roll your shoulder blades down your back and try to have your palms up for this particular Shavasana. And that'll lead you through a little bit of a body scan. So notice your feet. And bring your attention to your toes. And the space between your toes or behind your toes. Notice the temperature of your feet. Notice any moisture or dryness. Notice the arches of your feet. And your ankles. Notice the points of contact where your feet are touching the ground. Notice your shin bones and see if you can allow your calf muscles to drip off of your shins. Notice your knees. And the space behind your knees. And your femurs, and where your femurs connect to your hip joint. Notice your lower belly. And your belly. Notice areas of tension in your hips or your belly or your lower belly. Maybe you can breathe some kindness into those areas. Maybe soften the edges of the areas where you might have knots. And if there is no softening, can you be okay with just noticing and having compassion for yourself? Mhm. Notice your spine from your tailbone all the way up to your head. Notice your shoulders. Notice all the areas of contact between your body and the ground. And see if on your next exhale you can let gravity hold you a teeny bit more. Notice your jaw, your tongue, your eyes, your forehead. Notice your cheeks, your ears, and your scalp. Notice if you see if you can breathe through your entire body. Pull the air up through your feet and legs and arms out the top of your head. And see if your exhale, you can send it all back down through your feet. Let's take one more centering breath. Big inhale. Exhale. Then wiggle fingers and toes and wrist circles and ankle circles. Give yourself a stretch. Then bend your knees and roll over to one side. And then go ahead and push yourself back up to sitting. Notice how you're feeling. And thank you for joining me in a restorative yoga practice. And I hope you found compassion and self-compassion and a little bit of restoration of your body and mind and spirit. Namaste, everybody.